let's talk about the actual championships for a minute. There's lots of different versions of the television title. Jim Crockett and the NWA had it originally. The one that I think people think is most synonymous with you is the red leather with the black backing, the 5-plate title. And then there would replace that with a black version and red backing. So just inversing the leather. And then they would replace it with, the one that most people, probably think about, Steven Regal with, in the WCW era. And then finally the squiggly line belt that, Renegade had, and ultimately Jim Duggan found in a trash can, I think on Nitro. Of those 4 designs, would I be right in saying your favorite, the one that you think about when you think of that title, is the red one, the original?
Yeah. For some reason I felt like that was mine. Don't ask me why, but, you would be correct. We're on the same wavelength.
We took to Twitter and said, hey, if you guys have a question about Arn's television title runs, fire off a question right here using hashtag Ask Arn. You can be a part of this process. Next week, we're going to go back to a Q&A. Go ask your question at the Arn Show and try to use hashtag Ask Arn. We'll look for your question next week. We'll go now to Jay Stovall. This is an interesting question. What was worse, working the Tower of Doom match at Uncensored 96 or losing the TV title to Renegade 95?
Well, my friend, let me put it to you this way. I am scared of heights. I am slew-footed as any penguin on the planet, which means I'm not very sure-footed. Climbing to the top of that Tower of Doom was one of the most frightening things that's ever happened to me or that I've ever dreamed or imagined. And it can't scratch the surface from rolling out of that ring after wrestling the Renegade.
Doug wants to know, other than Arn, who does he consider the greatest TV champ of all time? We've all sort of agreed that this belt is probably most synonymous with you. But do you remember thinking there was another great television champion?
Tully.
Yeah, I could see that one.
Tully was tremendous. Steve Regal was tremendous. All same mindset. You gotta look at those 3 guys. I think what those 3 guys enjoyed doing more than anything, if you ask Steve Regal, performing, just going out and just tearing it up. And, when there's a prize, like the TV title, it just makes it even more fun.
It's interesting to think about everybody who's held that one. I for some reason, I sort of think of the WCW television title differently than I do the WWF. But when I think of the NWA, I certainly think of you and Sting and Muta and Tully. But when I think about the WCW one, I think more probably of guys like Steve Regal, than anybody else. And maybe even, guys like Booker T, because Booker T had, a hell of a run in the late 90s with it.
Yep. There's things that I can't remember, right now that like you just said. I'm sure Booker T was a great television champion because, again, he was a guy that liked to perform. He liked to go get it. There were guys that I'm sure that they wanted to put that title on and did put it on with the idea that it would elevate them, and they looked at it as a burden. There were those guys because, a lot of times you didn't feel like wrestling 20 minutes, and that thing actually, and I don't remember what point in time, but it actually went from 20 minutes to 30 minutes on a given angle with a guy. A guy couldn't beat you in 20 minutes, and next week he couldn't beat you in 20 minutes, and it got extended to 30 minutes. Well, surely I can beat this guy in 30 minutes. And, you had a whole building angle right there that was just a snowball rolling down the hill that didn't take any brilliance to come up with or book, or all you had to do was write it down, and it was, took care of itself.
Following up about the Booker T thing, there was a great series of matches. Actually, Sharon Shabazz wrote this one in. Was Arn the agent for the Benoit Booker T Best of 7 series? I think that went down in 98, and, they made the television title matter again, perhaps for the last time in 1998. Great question. Were you the agent for those?
I'm not, back in those days, the talent took care of their matches. I might have been there in some capacity as far as giving them specifics. Here's how much time. Here's when you're on. Here's where you are in the standings. But those guys kept up with that because it was a big deal to them. I remember very clearly both guys were enjoying themselves. They were enjoying working with each other. They were able to bring the best out in each other, and they were tearing the joint down every night. In those 7 matches, I never got tired of seeing any one match, that's for sure. They diversified it up and made it different, made it fun to watch, made it interesting, and made for a lot of drama.
Interesting question here that I've never really thought about before. Joe Hunt writes in, did the airlines ever give you a "we lost your luggage" scare when you traveled with the title?
No, it wasn't a scare. They've lost them a couple times. And all you can do, because here's my experience with it through seeing the other guys, and thank God, for me, it was only like 3 times they lost my bags. 1 time I got it back, 2 times I did not. So when it didn't show up, because we were moving to a different town every night in those days. So if your bag wasn't going to show up, you would say, well, listen, I got to leave tonight because I got a 300-mile drive. I'm going to be so-and-so. Here's where I'm going to be. Oh, no problem. When it gets here, we'll just forward it to where you are. Well, you spent the rest of that loop with that bag, they said, trying to play catch up. You never did get that bag. And I learned after the first situation, day 2, hey, you go to the mall and you just buy everything you need all over again for however many days you're out, because you ain't getting that bag. That was my experience. 1 time I got it back on like the 5th day, and they have no explanation why it took so long. And what are you going to do? It's their sandbox. You're just playing in it. They hold all the cards. You got to fly some shots. You can't drive them. It's hard to drive 2,000 miles. So, yeah, and it's horrifying. Not having any workout stuff, no change of clothes, no, toiletry bag, any of that stuff. That's why guys never checked the championships. You always carried it on, because you lose that, now you are in a mess.
Real quick question here from Dave Pearson. Did Arn get more pride out of being a tag champion or a TV champion? I think I know the answer.
Both. I think, let me put it to you this way. What did you think the answer was going to be?
I thought you'd say both. I didn't think you were going to pick one.
Well, God, you are smart.
Well, I'm just saying, you're like the classiest dude that's ever done a podcast here. There's no way you're going to say, oh, I liked when I was the champ, fuck my tag guys, but you also don't want to disrespect the belt we've just done a whole show on. So it's not Arn Anderson style to pick right there.
You know what's scary though, is that's true. Because I love tag matches. We've said before, I went on record as saying, with the right champions, the right heel tag champions, and 2 good, they don't even have to be partners, 2 really hot baby faces, that for the story is for that night, they're going to combine forces, and probably it would be very easy for either one of them to beat either one of the heels. But as a team, the heels are the better team, and you let that play out over about 30 or 40 minutes. And the fact that they are partners and they just look at each other and know what the other one is thinking, and that's the difference of being able to get out of there with the titles and the skin of their teeth. That's the story, and that's where the heat is. Nothing on the card can follow that, not even a world title match, in my humble opinion. And man, is it fun to be part of it.
One last question here. King of Tech Deals wants to know, do you know if the WWE ever considered having a television championship? You were there in the back for a lot of years. Did it ever come up?
No, because it would have been considered them doing it as a copycat of some other company, which they always wanted to come across as being the leader in everything. I think they would have looked down on that, the television title.